Welcome to the South OC Hybrid Homeschool. My name is Natalie Husted. I am the founder and the current director. We call ourselves SOCH. This is your virtual orientation. If you are unable to make it to one of our in-person orientations, and for many of you, our registration is coming up quickly. We wanted to give you a way to get all of the information that I would normally give in an in-person orientation, but doing it here virtually. So we are going to cover everything. We are going to cover how to homeschool in the state of California. We're going to cover what our program is, what we do, and everything you would need to know and what is most commonly asked in our tour. So the first thing is SOCH is a hybrid homeschool. So we are not a school. We're not a private school. We are a third party to the California Department of Ed and the charter program system. So just like you would go to like a Kumon or a Mathnasium or a pod if you were homeschooling your students, that is what SOCH is. It's a learning center that helps to lift up the heavy burden for some families of the actual day-to-day teaching and instruction of the core classes. And it's why we're a hybrid, because your students are legally a homeschool student. They are registered either with the state as a PSA and a home educated student, or they are with a non-classroom based charter as a student for them. But we are not a school. We do not hold your records. And it is why we have the ability to be a lot more flexible with our students in their learning environment. That's why we're able to have such small class sizes. We do follow the state standards. We do follow the Common Core guidelines, because the assumption is for a lot of these students, they are going to eventually go back into public at some point, whether they be high school or whether this is a break year. But SOCH is designed for students who need a small classroom size, for parents who want a secular, academically focused classroom environment for their kids to work within a peer-to-peer group. So for some families who homeschool, they want more of a child-led learning. They want more of an exploratory or creative or STEM or STEAM or hands-on experience for their kiddos. And those are wonderful ways to homeschool students. It's just not what we do here. We really encourage those types of different philosophies and pedagogies on the off days for our kiddos. It's why we are only 3 days. We try not to overload or inundate them, but we are able to cover a lot in a 3-day period of time because we do have such small class sizes. Our class sizes range from 12 to 16 students depending on the makeup of the kiddos and the makeup of the class. And as a learning center, while we do all of the academic work, ultimately you as the parent are the partner with our teachers. You are responsible for work on the off days, although it's not a tremendous amount of work. It is more just helping to uplift and reinforce what they're doing in the classroom. It's not having to actually teach a full lesson on those off days, but it is a partnership. It is expected. As a homeschooling parent, you also are responsible for the ultimate list from the California Department of Ed of all of the educational standards for your student, although we do cover a good portion of them here. That is ultimately lies in the hands of the family. Our program is built to start as a play-based kindergarten to developmentally escalate and move up. So our kindergarten is intentionally play-based. The first thing I get asked from kindergarten and first grade parents is my kindergarten going to be first grade ready for a public school setting? They will not be. Kindergarten is developmentally here, works a lot on the soft skills. We're working on, can your student sit? Can they organize? Can they unzip their backpack, get all those other items out? I'm going to have them all join us in a second here. Can they follow multi-step instructions? And that is what we are looking for our kindergartners, more so before we layer over content and academic instruction. So our kindergarten looks a lot closer to preschool standards in the state of California. And as we move up, is when we start to layer academics on top. So our kindergarten program does not prepare our kindergartners to go to public school first grade. That doesn't mean on the off days, if that's what your intention is for your family, that you couldn't prepare them for that. It's just that that's what we do in class. So our first grade starts really middle of kindergarten standards, and in one full year they will cover all of middle kinder and all of first grade. Actually, it's every year. It always surprises us, but they are able to get it all in. And I think that's because instead instead of teaching kindergartners who are 5 and 6 to read, we instead teach them to read at 6 and 7 in first grade. So they're older, they're more interested in learning how to read, they're more prepared for it, they have more endurance and stamina, and that makes a big difference in our kiddos' ability to sit and process the information. First grade is still very project-based, very hands-on, very experiential. So is second grade, but second grade starts the beginning of our academics. And part of that in the beginning of our academics is they start the more formal process of what a public school classroom might look like for your kiddos. By the time your kiddos are 3rd and 4th, you can pick up any of our 3rd and 4th graders, and they have their equivalency in a public school setting of that 3rd and 4th grade room. And it gets exponentially higher from there. So our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is our middle school program. It doesn't mean we don't differentiate from 3rd to 8th grade. It just means that the academics become intentionally more challenging for the students, because we really want to prepare our kiddos for what is beyond 8th grade. Most homeschool families tend to drop off after 8th grade and go into back into a public school or traditional school setting, and that's because of the A to G standards you need to graduate from high school, and they're not readily available in all homeschooling environments. So for us, we are starting at the bottom, play-based, we're working on projects being experiential, and then as we go up, again, we're keeping in mind we're only a 3-day program. This is for our SOACH core, that as we go up, it gets academically harder. So it's something to keep in mind for families, because you might have a philosophy of child-led learning, you might have a philosophy of more art of learn through play or learn through art, and that will work for you. And then you get somewhere on 3rd grade and you say, wait a second, this feels a lot more academic-y, a lot more schooly. And it is, and it's by design that way. So something just to keep in mind and be kind of eyes wide open on that. Now, does that mean as we go up in academics and up in content that it's not differentiated? No, all of our classes, because they're such small class sizes, we still differentiate up and down. However, the intention of our program was created for students who are neurotypical students, who do not qualify for an IEP or a 504, who are struggling in a large classroom, who are struggling with the pace of a public school setting, and for the most part, who are the lower 10% of the SBAC and standardized testing scores in a public school. Those are the kids who do not qualify for an IEP or 504, don't get extra help, don't get pull-out help, don't get anything that would help them move on, and yet they're still struggling at the bottom of the class. And so our program is specifically designed for those kiddos, and they thrive in this environment. Next question I always get is, well, my kid is at level, and my kid is high, and will they be here? And I always compare it to diet. If somebody in your family is suffering from any kind of stomach ailments, and you take them to the doctors and they have IBS and they have Crohn's, doctor says this kiddo needs to be or have a overhaul of their diet. They need to be, plant-based, whole foods, no sugar, yada yada. As a mom, you're not going to make 2 different meals for everybody and do 2 different sets of grocery shopping. Now everybody gets on the whole diet of whole foods, plant-based, no sugar, yada yada. Now, who benefits the most from that? The kiddo who's having the problems, the IBS, the Crohn's kiddo, right? But everybody improves. Their blood pressure improves, their triglycerides improves, their cholesterol improves, et cetera, because they're on a healthier pathway. So it's just the same academically. Who benefits from the small class size, from the differentiation, from the little bit more of a curated one-to-one type of interaction with their teachers? Well, obviously the kiddos who are struggling the most in a public school setting or a traditional school setting. But everybody actually thrives in this type of environment. So our kiddos who are high get higher, our kiddos who are middle get higher, they get more academically confident in what they're doing and their ability to process information and to move forward. So those are like the biggest things that people need to kind of know about our program. And it doesn't take away anything from programs that are out there that are STEM-based or STEAM-based or art-based or child-led learning. It's just that that's not what we do. And there's a homeschooling program for anybody out there who is looking for what they want. There's a lot of religious programs out there as well. Again, that's just not what SOACH does. So I just like our parents to be totally eyes wide open. We like to be completely transparent on what we do and what we offer and what you'll get from this program. And a big part of that is why we do interviews with me, because I want to know all about your kiddo, and I want to know everything that you think you need from a program like ours, so I can tell you if it's going to be a fit or not, because I would hate for people to waste their precious years or academic time in a program that's not the right fit for them. And I am familiar and I am friendly with almost every other director in the homeschooling as well as the private schooling world, and so I can usually direct people fairly close to what it is that they're looking